Hello there and welcome to our monthly program with the European Policy Center. The main topic today is the European Summit result with the nomination of Jean-Claude Juncker as the next president of the European Commission. To discuss on that, I have the pleasure to welcome Mrs. Corina Stratulat.
Thank you for having me.
Hello and welcome to you. So after weeks of discussions and a big battle between the European Union and the Prime Minister David Cameron from the UK, the 28 leaders, except Mr. Cameron and his colleague, the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, they agreed on the name of Jean-Claude Juncker as the next European Commission's president. Is it a success for the European Parliament?
Well, look, before we went into these elections, the main European political parties have agreed to put forward candidates for the post of Commission President, and the member states went along with that half-baked idea. Then we entered the actual campaign for these elections, and we told voters that we're casting a vote indirectly for the potential next Commission President.
Is it a turning point? So is it a turning point for the EU?
It's certainly an important step, and it's a step on which we couldn't go back and we can't go back, and probably would lead to further developments in the future, building on this particular step that we've taken now.
So it's the European Union now is becoming closer to its citizens. We can say this is more democratic.
Well, but views are shared on how how much this step has contributed to increasing the democratic legitimacy of the EU. But certainly, this was the intention behind this Spitzenkandidat experiment, that it would personalize the campaign process, that it would Europeanize the campaign message, and that it would establish somewhat of a clearer, direct link between citizens and the leader of the Brussels executive.
Oh, well, David Cameron warned after right after the summit, and he said this is a bad day for Europe. Do you also feel that?
I feel that whatever criticism Cameron had was voiced far too late. So whether he's right or wrong in criticizing the process and the outcome of that process, I think he spoke too late about his reservations, therefore his tactics leave much to be desired in this regard.
He spoke too late, but however, Jean-Claude Juncker, he phoned him after, on Sunday, 2 days after the summit, to even congratulate.
Well, I think the discussion was more along the lines of whether they will now try to make it work. And I think, given the circumstances, the only way to move forward is by trying to work with each other and hopefully finding common grounds.
So what does that mean, finding common grounds? Does that mean that Camerons will have concessions?
Well, it's difficult to speculate along those lines, but I do think that it is a constructive approach if it is for them to stick to it, because ultimately it's in nobody's interest. It's not in the interest of the European Union nor in the interest of the UK to simply shut the door and turn it back.
Because Mr. Juncker said that he will try to find solutions to make the EU more competitive and more flexible. So what does that mean? Do you think there will be more and more reforms?
We'll have to see about that. We also have to remember that it's not only up to Juncker the direction in which Europe will move. Decision making at the EU level is still a complex process, which has different checks and balances and different actors which have to give their input and have veto points. Therefore, while Mr. Juncker might have an important role, it certainly doesn't have the only or the final say.
And could we expect maybe a Europe with even more austerity or less austerity?
Well, it's true that the focus of this particular summit has been less on economic issues, but we have seen that in the context of this summit, the member states have discussed, without agreeing any policies, with regard to having more flexibility within the Stability and Growth Pact. So I think there is awareness of the need that there is another dimension to austerity. And I think that part of the framework on which the member states are looking to deliver results for the EU in the next term is also in terms of growth, competitiveness, and jobs.
And this EU elections and this nomination of Jean-Claude Juncker has given more power to the European Parliament, and that is what Mr. Cameron worried. Do you agree with this worry, this fear?
Well, I'm not sure about it. I don't know that it's a zero-sum game where the Parliament wins, the European Council loses. I mean, we have seen also that certain member states have maintained their important influence, such as Germany, in the process, with Merkel getting behind the potential nomination of Juncker quite early on, and in opposition to Cameron's criticism, and ultimately the vote that was forced upon the European Council unprecedentedly delivered a qualified majority with 26 member states against the two opponents. Therefore, I don't know that it's that the Parliament won and the Council lost is a fair assessment of how things went.
And your last point, do you think we will have a European Union without Great Britain?
Well, I certainly hope not. I mean, as I said before, it's not in the interest of the EU nor in the interest of the UK for this marriage to fall apart.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Stratulat, for coming here, and thank you all of you for watching us on Euranet Plus. Bye.